Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Biana. We back at the crib. What's going on? So, I have a bunch of notes. If you see me looking down, it's because I got a lot of stuff to say. But I basically been feeling called to talk about forgiveness simply because we kind of got the eclipse going on. Mercury retrograde is going on, so people from the past may be coming back and all that crazy stuff. But also, like, eclipses are really, really good for a releasal, and I feel like I was kind of called to talk about forgiveness. Now, really quickly, because I know you guys like to start forgiveness. Why would I want to forgive this person? This person did this person did that, this person did me wrong. Quiet coyote. How did they do it in the movie Soul? Quiet coyote, quiet coyote. Okay, let mother speak. And then at the end, if you still feel like it doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't apply to you. But really quickly, I just want to make a disclaimer that what you believe is true. I was watching a video a while ago, and this guy was talking about how he saw Will Smith basically say a quote that is very important for you guys to know, which is, a man that says that I can and a man that says that I can't, both men are right. And I generally believe this to be true. So what you believe to be true, then at the end of the day, it's true. If you feel like forgiveness is not for you, then forgiveness is not for you. But really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and go over what forgiveness is. Let's see if by the end of this video, maybe you'll change your mind, maybe you'll be up for it. And if not, then that's completely okay. That's up to you, and you live your life however you free. So, forgiveness. What is forgiveness? I decided to talk about what forgiveness is not, so then I can go ahead and tell you what forgiveness is, right? So basically, what is forgiveness not? Forgiveness is not excusing another person's actions. Clearly, what they did to you was wrong, and at the end of the day, your feelings are valid, and if this person did you wrong, then they did you wrong, period, point blank, and you're not excusing this person's actions, right? Another thing that forgiveness is not excusing the person and saying, hey, like, they deserve forgiveness. That may or may not necessarily be true, but 9 times out of 10, that person does not deserve forgiveness. So at the end of the day, why are we giving people forgiveness, right? And I would watch a video from this guy named Leo in the Third House. If you guys ever want to watch some tarot readings, slide to my boy's channel. But basically, he has like this card where it talks about forgiveness, and there's always a quote that sticks out to me, and it says that forgiveness is just saying that you're not going to be a perpetual victim to somebody else's actions and or wrongdoings to you. And that is exactly what forgiveness is. It's no longer being a victim, no longer letting this person control you because of something that they did wrong to you, right? Here's another way to think about it, right? At the end of the day, forgiveness really starts with you, right? I wanted to talk about how usually whenever it comes to forgiveness, we start to think of closure, and maybe you never really got that closure, X, Y, and Z. Closure is really a myth, y'all. You don't really need to have another person there for you to find closure. It is possible to move on. It is very difficult to, but it is absolutely possible to move on. And the way that I think about it is because I remember in my psychology class, I was talking to my professor, and she was talking about forgiveness, and I was very perplexed about it because I was thinking about, okay, sometimes there's going to be other people that are generally not going to want to hold themselves accountable. Or sometimes, God forbid, but let's say the person that did you wrong was your mom, and your mom passed away. You're never going to have that conversation with her. So how can you find closure? How can you find forgiveness in your heart if you can't even ask those questions, if you can't even have that conversation that you so desperately deserve and need, right? That's what I was thinking. Until my professor said, even if that person was there, even if that person, well, she says that she finds that even if that person is there, think of all the things that you want this person to say to you. Yes, I'm sorry, I should have never done this to you. It was unfair, I was uncompassionate, whatever the case may be. If they said everything that you wanted to hear, would you still be angry at that person? Would you still be disappointed at that person? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, forgiveness and letting go of that pain, it doesn't start with that person. That person doesn't need to sit there and tell you all the things that you need to hear, because at the end of the day, you know your truth. And I'm going to validate your feelings. Your feelings are absolutely valid. I believe you, and your truth is your truth. So why are you going to go to another person and tell them, you did this to me and this is what you did that was wrong and you need to fix this? I'm waiting. Oh, okay, thanks. So I just wanted to touch base on that. So essentially, forgiveness is not being a victim to somebody else's actions and wrongdoing, right? So you're probably wondering, okay, how do I forgive? First things first is feel those feelings. Feel those feelings. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling angry, if you're disappointed, if you're disgusted, if you feel like there's been an injustice and you're enraged, if you're infuriated, feel those feelings, because at the end of the day, somebody has done you wrong. Why would you not be angry? Why would you not be disappointed? You know? And it's very important for you to feel those feelings, because at the end of the day, feelings are temporary. And if you allow your feelings to just pass through, then you start to let go of the anger and the resentment, you know? But I say that with an asterisk, because that leads on to the next point, which is changing the narrative. Feeling your feelings and changing the narrative really go hand in hand in order for you to go ahead and let go of those feelings. Because if you continue to have the same narrative, you can feel your feelings all you want, and at the end of the day, you're still going to be angry, you're still going to be disappointed, you're still going to be feeling sadness, and you'll be stuck in that loop. But when you change your narrative, okay, you know what, yes, this person did this to me, but I needed to learn, like, okay, maybe what this person taught me was I need to have boundaries for myself. Maybe what this person taught me was I need to stick up for myself and say what I need to say. And my truth is definitely important, and I need to say what needs to be said. Maybe this person taught me that I have codependency issues, that I have abandonment issues, that I have control issues. At the end of the day, change the narrative. Instead of just talking about it like a story of how this person did this person's a crappy person and I hate this person because they did this to me. Change the narrative. And as you change the narrative and you feel your feelings, you will find that forgiveness will start to come easier. Another thing that is super important is understand that how people treat you is a reflection of themselves, which is a game changer. Have you ever noticed that, like, the people that are like, I 100% value communication is so important to me, and then that person does not know how to communicate? They'll be that person that's like super passive aggressive, and like they'll go ahead and they'll like kind of react and stuff like that. Or have you ever noticed that the person that's like, I cannot stand with another person is dishonest? I hate when people lie, and they're the ones that just give little white lies everywhere, and you're just like, what is wrong with you? Weren't you the one preaching that like honesty is super important to you? It's because at the end, how people treat you is a reflection of themselves. And at the end of the day, like, you cannot take that personally. Which leads on to my next point, which is that understand that people react and act if they don't work out. People will bleed onto others, okay? Somebody else will cut this person, and this person will come here and bleed onto you. And you're going to be sitting here thinking, okay, but I didn't do anything. I didn't cut this person. So why did this person take it out on me? It doesn't matter why this person took it out on you. That is their burden and their baggage and their, how do you say that? That's their responsibility to go ahead and deal with that and hold themselves accountable and heal from that. I'm focused on you being on the other end. Knowing that is so important, because at the end of the day, if this person is bleeding onto you, then it's nothing for you to take internally. There's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong. And even if you did do something wrong, you did the best that you could. You don't intentionally just sit here. At least I don't think so. At least not the people that are clicking on this video. At least I don't think. Okay? Because we're better than that, right? but intentionally, we're not trying to hurt anybody else. If anything, we're just trying to do our best. And at the end of the day, what your best, if you messed up, then it is what it is. And at the end of the day, that person is either doing their best or they're just repeating things that they've been through you. So at the end of the day, why be so upset about it? So for people who may be spiritual, right, at the end of the day, we have these things called soul contracts, right? So a soul contract is that before we reincarnate or whatever, our life is sort of already panned out, whatever the case may be. And we have this one person, right? And you. And essentially this one person is like, hey, I'm going to trigger this within you. And you're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to trigger this within you. And at the end of the day, the soul contract basically states like, look, we're going to trigger each other because we both have things that we need to work on. And don't worry about it. Like, this is my burden to take on and my responsibility to heal and transmute. So at the end of the day, you guys end up going on Earth, you end up going through that cycle, and after that person did what they did and it ends up going horribly or whatever the case may be, like, that soul contract is over. It's done. So at the end of the day, it was a learning experience, right? So another thing that can help you learn how to forgive is having compassion, because like I said before, at the end of the day, people basically bleed onto others and they act what they don't work out. So at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to sit back and realize like, damn, this person has so much trauma, so much baggage that they've never sat down and dealt with, because it may be super overwhelming for them to just sit down and deal with. And that does not, again, like I said, forgiveness is not excusing another person's actions. They definitely should not have treated you that way. They definitely should not have bled onto you. However, having that perspective of, damn, you know what? This person, for whatever reason, they don't have the courage, they don't have the strength, they don't have the awareness to go ahead and understand that they have all these traumas, they have all this baggage, they have all these, I'm not going to say things wrong with them, because it's not like things are wrong with them, but there were things that happened to them that they've internalized. Maybe they're dealing with a lot of shame, maybe they're dealing with a lot of guilt, maybe they're dealing with a lot of frustration and anger and trust issues, because maybe they've put their trust in somebody and that ended up never working out and that person betrayed their trust. Maybe the person that they felt like they could trust was their mom and their dad, and that never ended up happening. Or sometimes some people, they have really great relationships with their mom and their dad, but then they have a friendship or they have a relationship, and at the time they didn't have the healthy coping mechanisms or the coping strategies. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, these are the ways, right? They didn't have somebody to sit there and guide them, or they didn't have the awareness or the tools to go ahead and cope and deal with the things that they need to deal with, which is why whenever they interact with you, they continue that same old cycle. Have you ever noticed that there'll be like a girl and a guy, they'll be like dating for a while, it'll be on and off, it's the most toxic relationship, okay? And everybody knows it's the most toxic relationship except for that girl. And then whenever you sit back and you talk with that girl, sometimes they'll be like, you know what, I'm not gonna lie, like, I know that this is toxic, but there's a part of me that feels like I deserve this, or, you know, I feel like if I'm with a healthy man, it's not gonna be as satisfying. And that's them self-sabotaging their own happiness. And if there's another guy that wants to be with that girl and they see that that girl isn't something toxic with the original boy, then that guy will try to be that healthy guy, but then the girl will start to overlook him. Is there something wrong with the second guy that wants to be with the girl? No. It's just that at that moment, that girl, she just has a lot of baggage that she just needs to deal with. Don't take it personal. And I know it can be hard to not take it personal, and again, this with a grain of salt, because there are some people that just get molest and that has nothing to do with them, you know, but it's not something that you can't take personal because it's something that has happened to you. So again, how do I say this? Apply this to where it applies, you know, take where it resonates, leave what doesn't. But at the end of the day, people just act out what they haven't worked out. And that's just that. The other thing is you should get a hobby. Add something physical. Something that I've realized that really helps with forgiveness is tapping yourself back into the power of who you are and what you love to do. So at the end of the day, if you're somebody that's very artistic, and maybe whenever you were interacting with this friend or this spouse or this partner or whatever the case may be, maybe you lost yourself whenever you were interacting with this person, and now you have the opportunity to go ahead and put your energy and your pursuits and your mind into something creative, right? I was watching this the Wizard Liz video, right? And the Wizard Liz was saying that at the end of the day, a lot of artists, right? A lot of people that are extremely great today, they didn't just become great today because everything is like, rainbows and sunshines and everything's going well. They became what they are because at the end of the day, that came from pain. So if you're going through some pain, get a hobby. That can, number one, help you transmute the pain that you're feeling, but also give you a way to channel the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the disappointment, and just put it into something physical. Because sometimes whenever we go through something, especially if it's traumatic, we don't have the mental capacity to just work it out. And sometimes at the end of the day, you don't have to work it out. You can just leave it where it is. But when you take on a creative pursuit, you can just push everything that you tried to work out but you haven't been able to work out, whatever the case, and just put it on that paper, put it on that canvas, put it on YouTube, whatever the case may be. And the other thing that I wanted to say is you should definitely add something physical. So I'm reading this book, The Body Keeps Score, right? Whenever it comes to traumas and stuff. And something that people don't realize is that trauma is stored in our body. And the typical areas will be around our neck, it'll be around our hips, we can get really tense, or even our jaws. Sometimes you'll clench your jaw and you won't even realize it, or your fists, and I feel like when you add something physical, you get to let go of that stiffness, that rigidness. When you just get to be comfortable within your own body, you start to become rooted in your own being, and you just let go of the anger, the resentment. Because at the end of the day, you having anger and resentment and sadness and disappointment for this other person, for what they did to you, does nothing to that other person, but it does everything to you. I don't know if you guys ever read the book Good Boundaries and Good Vibes, but in that book she was saying that she was holding a lot of energy, whether it be anger, sadness, disappointment, fear, anxiety, all that kind of got stuck, and she literally got like part of her intestine, I think, cut out because she was harboring so much. And whenever she went to surgery, the surgeon that was there actually said, "Listen, ma'am, I don't know what the hell you were doing, but it literally looks like you got hit by a bus, the way that your insides are looking." That's not funny, but your insides got hit by a bus because she was harboring all that anger and resentment and that anxiety. And at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself. So when you add something physical, you get to, release those endorphins, and sometimes just get to shake out that and like negative and anger and sadness energy out. Then you start to move the energy through your body, and that's just it. Like at the end of the day, your body is a vessel, and that's that. And the last thing that I wanted to say is get support, whether it be from your friends, whether it be from a therapist, whether it be a trusted adult, or your mom, your dad, somebody that you can trust. Get support. Just sit there and talk it out. If there's somebody that you need to talk to them, definitely. And for all my spiritual people out there, like if there's something that you feel like you can't do by yourself, give it to God, give it to your ancestors, give it to your spirit guides, give it to the angels, to just release that burden and ask for that healing energy to just cloak you and get rid of it. Because at the end of the day, sometimes there are certain things that we just can't do by ourselves. And if you're not spiritual, if you're atheist or agnostic, seeing a therapist really does help. Talking to your friends really does help. Talking to a teacher, or I don't know, even if you have to talk to your dog, bro, that helps, because at the end of the day, you're getting it out, you know? And like I said, for all my spiritual people, just give it up. And I do want to make another disclaimer for my spiritual people, because something that I've kind of noticed is we kind of have like religious bypassing. I think that's what it's called, where like a lot of people will go and praise God, and they'll be like, oh, well, God is going to take this burden off of me, and I'm not going to be angry, I'm not going to be sad, I'm not going to be this. Notice how I made this the very last thing, because the very first important thing is to feel your feelings, you know? And if you feel like you've been harboring it on for too long, you feel like it's too much, then give it to God. Then give it to the universe. Then give it to your angels. But at the end of the day, I feel like it should not be your first resort, because then you will be masking your trauma, or masking the negative actions that somebody has done to you, without actually sitting there, going through it, and releasing it. So that is everything that I have on forgiveness. Okay, girl, it's voiceover Biana, because I thought I was recording. Dumbass! But like, comment, and subscribe, and leave a comment, please, before I come in here.